Let's talk marriage contracts. He proposed and she said yes. Now the planning begins. Invitations, flowers, a cake. What else is important? A marriage contract is an essential part of your wedding planning. Let me explain why you need a marriage contract. To avoid being held jointly and severally liable for the debts or obligations incurred by your spouse prior to the marriage or during the marriage. To protect your own assets from your spouse's creditors. You may own assets at the time of the marriage which you intend to exclude from a joint estate. To exercise independence and freedom in the financial transactions without being required to obtain consent from your spouse. The basis of an antenuptial contract is that it excludes community of property and community of profit or loss. Antenuptial agreements have to be registered in the deeds office. Now they need to decide how they will be married, in community of property, out of community of property, or out of community of property with accrual. Let's discuss each method in detail. First up, in community of property. So before you get married, the husband has his own estate and the wife has her own estate. Once you get married in community of property, this falls away and a joint estate is established. Let's look a little closer at in community of property. Increase or decrease in assets that occurs during the marriage affects both parties equally. Spouses have equal authority over their joint estate. One spouse cannot enter into an agreement without the consent from the other spouse. All assets of the married couple belong to them jointly. All assets and liabilities are halved at the dissolution of the marriage through death or divorce. Let's look at out of community of property. Before the marriage, a husband has his estate and the wife has her estate. That's at the start of the marriage. At the end of the marriage, these two estates remain separate. Let's look closer at out of community of property. Exclusion of accrual means no sharing of any profit or loss at any time. Unless bought jointly, assets are owned separately. Neither spouse is liable for the debt or obligation incurred before or during the subsistence of the marriage. No sharing or claim against the assets of another spouse upon death or divorce by virtue of the antenuptial agreement. Out of community of property with accrual. At the beginning of the marriage, the husband has an estate. Let's say, for example, that it's worth 400,000 Rand. The wife has her own estate, and let's use that, for example, her estate's worth 500,000 Rand. At the end of the marriage, the husband's estate is worth 800,000 and the wife's estate is worth 600,000 Rand. This would mean that during the marriage, the husband's estate increased by 400,000 and the wife's by 100,000, which is a total of 500,000 Rand increase. That amount needs to be shared equally. Let's look a little closer at out of community of property with accrual. Both parties have to declare the net value of assets at the commencement of the marriage. When the debt is greater than the assets, the net value equals 0. If the marriage starts at a 0 net value, everything owned at the dissolution will be deemed to have acquired during the marriage. Application of the accrual offers the same protection as marriage out of community of property, but acknowledges marital partnership by allowing the sharing of assets accrued during the marriage. Neither spouse shares in the other's profit or loss during the marriage. Neither spouse is liable for the debt or obligation of another spouse, but will be entitled to equal share in the assets accrued during the marriage should the marriage dissolve. Upon death, the accrual claim must be paid before testamentary dispositions. Accrual is the extent to which each spouse has increased his or her respective estate at the time of dissolution. This is the amount by which the value of either spouse's estate at the dissolution of the marriage exceeds the value at the start of the marriage. Each spouse shares equally in the total accrual of both parties. So, let's look at an example. At the beginning of the marriage, the husband's estate is 0, as well as the wife's estate. At the end of the marriage, the husband's estate has grown to 800,000 and the wife's estate to 600,000. This would mean that the husband's estate increased by 800,000 and the wife's estate by 600,000, giving a total of 1.4 million. This amount needs to be shared equally. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to book your consultation today. Call us on 011-748-4500. We look forward to hearing from you.